Good morning, traders. So we're going to get on with the Aussie, the South African top 40. Now you'll see we are back on the ichimoku charts, and yeah, I'm going to keep swapping between ichimoku and Bill Williams through the weeks. I feel those are the two systems that if you know both of those systems well, you've got a pretty good trend following strategy that you can utilize. Okay, so let's just look at the weekly. The weekly finished off kind of okay, but the problem is we've got that pretty long tail. So we've got this long tail on the weekly. So it's 50-50. You know, the bulls were in charge for the first part of the bar, and then the bears came in charge for the second half of the weekly. So, you know, it's 50-50. You can't really read any domination into that. A couple of things which for me are pretty key, and the one is that we've got a crossover that may just happen on the weekly. You can see we've got the weekly Kijinson, which is our red line, and our blue line being the weekly Tikinson. We're heading towards a crossover. So now crossover blue over red like this is bullish, okay? And then Chickle-Span, the brown line, is sitting right here in price, so it is possible for it to break to the upside. And the cloud is already green, so the future is bright. So yeah, so on the weekly, there are some positive signals, but from a price action perspective, the candles themselves, I'm not entirely convinced. So ultimately, that is a line in the sand. Okay, and we are ranging at the moment, so I'll show you on the lower time frames why I say that. But for now, that's our line in the sand, and we need to break above that for us to continue on this journey. So let's just start working on... Okay, so if we start looking at the daily, you can see what I mean by we are ranging. Okay, and I'm just going to, as we could argue that that's the bottom of the range there. Okay, but I'll just use the previous low here. You can see there are a couple of touches on it. So we definitely are in a range. And you can see by the 200-day EMA, which is flat, we're very much in a range. Okay, but now if we look at Ichimoku, we'll see that we do have some positive signals. So we do have Chickle-Span breaking through the cloud and price over here. Okay, we have broken through the cloud, and normally what happens is we break through the cloud and we come back to test the break. I'm not entirely convinced we'll make it all the way back down to test the cloud, but some form of retracement is what is expected. However, if we look at the daily bar here, you can see that Friday the bulls were very much in control of this bar. Okay, so bulls were in charge, the bears tried to get control, and then the bulls closed in charge. So you can see the buyers came in right at the bottom, pushing price up. So there was some good buying. The question is, are we going to maintain that buying? Okay, so obviously we need to take cognizance of this trend line that's formed. I just want to extend it just to see if there's anything else here. Not really, but so we do have two touches at the moment on that line. We need to just keep that in mind. There's nothing on the divergence, so the black line is our MACD, and then the other four lines are just the stochastics. So we're looking for stochastics, we're looking for groupings there, which will indicate, specifically when we're at a level, it'll indicate that there is some selling pressure to the downside, and if it groups at the bottom like this, then there's buying pressure coming in. Okay, Kijinson and Tikinson's flat, so there's nothing to read into that at the moment. So let's just get down to 4 hour. Okay, so 4 hour, we do have diversions. You can see the black line, MACD, is pointing to the downside while price pointed to the upside, but at the same time, we've got price moving to the upside, and we've got MACD pointing to the downside. So, we're in a strange situation because we've got, if you draw a line along the top, you've got MACD coming to the downside, which is indicating a pullback. If you draw your line along the bottom, you can see MACD still coming to the bottom, but now we have reverse divergence, which indicates a continuation of this upward move. We are above the cloud. We are below Tekinson. So we're in this ranging zone. So when prices between Tekinson and Kijinson, we typically are in a range and collaborated with a flat cloud. So when the cloud is flat like this, and you can see there it's starting to flatten off, that indicates range. Okay, so we can actually draw the range even tighter. So we can say that this area here is actually the range, and we delete that. So we can say that this area here is the range. Okay, now the problem with this is you can see we have a potential head and shoulders here. So we have a shoulder, we have a head, and we've risen up. And being below Tekinson, if we stay below Tekinson, we can move to the downside. And often what happens, you'll see you can use Tekinson as your trend. What I mean by that is when you are above Tekinson and price is selling off the Tekinson line, you can use it as an upward trend. And when price is below Tekinson, as you see here, where there's a rejection of Tekinson on this bar, you can see this is downward trend. Okay, so Tekinson is a great indication of how strong the trend is, and you see it on the lower time frames specifically. Okay, so you can see this was a very strong trend. We were above Tekinson, we bounced off it 1, 2, 3 times, and then we fell through. So there's two sets of diversions here, so it's kind of difficult to read into it, and I think what you need to do is just focus on price action for now. Ignore diversions, ignore the noise, and look emotion-free at what's going on. Okay, so let's look at the hour. On the hour, you can see we've had a breakthrough of price here. So Span has broken through price. It's come back to test the break, right? We've had a crossover. The cloud is grouped together over here. Okay, if we get a twist, in other words, starts turning red and starts pointing to the downside, then we have more downside potentially. And we're also bumping our head on Kijinson. So what I said about Tekinson earlier, you see on Friday how we used Tekinson the whole of Friday as a resistance. So it was almost, the bulls were trying to get going, and then at the close, they were denied. So a few things here on the hour, and I'm not 100% sure how we're going to react to this, but this is another range. Okay, so if I just move that up there. So this area here that I'm boxing with the cursor is a range. Now we did close above it, but my concern is we are below Kijinson. Okay, so if I just go back in time here, and you see why that would be a concern, you can see how price was below Kijinson and it stayed below Kijinson, had a little squirt above, but still below the cloud, and we continued moving to the downside. Okay, so this is kind of how you're going to use ichimoku for your trend. So you can see if Kijinson and Tekinson are pointing to the upside and prices above them, you have a strong trend to the upside. When Kijinson and Tekinson are flat, like they are at the moment, you are typically ranging and you're going sideways. So you want to be short from the top of the range, long from the bottom of the range. Okay. So for me today, I think this is really going to be a lower time frame trading day, and probably more than likely be sitting on the 12-minute chart and be trading the ichimoku from the 12-minute. So what I mean by that is, okay, we've had a break of this range, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for some form of a pullback and more than likely trade the break of the range to the upside. Okay, we do have a few gaps to the upside that need to close, and you can see the first magnet here is this gap. I'll put a line in there. So that is the first magnet. So maybe a quick short scalp from the top there down to come and test the cloud, and then back in long at this point here. Now, there is some geopolitical noise that we need to worry about, and the G7 summit's not going according to plan for the first part of it. Okay, so we need to worry about that. And then Asia at the moment is pretty flat. I just want to see what 10 cents up though, 10 cents up 1%. So yeah, so I think for the Aussie today, more than likely trade this range break. So we do have a reasonable target here. From here to there, we've got a 460 pip target to the upside for this range break. And if we just zoom out a bit. Okay, you can see there's a lot of action happening in this broader range here. So I think that's kind of what I'd be looking for. And if we do take this, 460 takes us back to the top here, top of range. So yeah, so I think, the smaller portion is a range, and here is a range. And also on the hour, you can see how everything's, the stochastics at the bottom, they have crossed over. Ideally, I'd like to see them group like these groupings here, because that gives you an indication that you can just hold a bit longer. But for now, I'm definitely looking for a long. So we'll see what happens at the open, and probably hopefully we get an opening gap close, and then looking for a long to play the break of this double bottom or range. Okay, so that's the Aussie today, guys. Hope it helps, and enjoy the day. And if you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up, and even better, drop us a comment. Love to engage with you guys. Anyway, catch you guys tomorrow. See you later. Bye.